Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 7 of my VCT Round-Up series. It's been about a week, but honestly, there hasn't been many games. The only reason I took a week off as well is mostly because I was on a trip, so I'm sorry for that. But still, there hasn't been a lot going on, but the things that's been going on has been insane. Let's just say that. So we have Pacific Upper Quarterfinals, Pacific Elim Round 1s, and we have EMEA upper semis and lower round 2 to talk about today. So let's start off by talking about the Pacific games. And well, let's just say a lot of things have happened. First off, I've forgotten to change the colors on these. Let's do that real quick. So we're gonna change all those to green. And all those to red. All right. So let's go through all this. Last time, we only did these 4 games, meaning there's been quite a lot happening in Pacific. There's actually more Pacific games going on right now, but we're gonna take those in the next video. So first we had DRX playing Nongshim, and honestly, this has put me pretty highly on DRX. I do think I've seen a lot of people say that DRX is the best team in the region right now, and we'll see. They're playing Genjite, but I would say it could be the case, but I'm still a bit wary. Um, I will say today's game against Genji is going to be really interesting, considering Genji has looked iffy. Like, they haven't looked as good as I feel like most people have expected from them. So it's going to be an interesting game to see. But yeah, Nongshim didn't look particularly good this game, I don't think. I think Nongshim are looking a lot worse than I thought they would. While DRX are actually looking better than I thought they would. So yeah, then PaperX T1. Neither of these teams are looking particularly good in my opinion. I think T1 are looking I feel like mostly though this game was just PaperX looking like bad PaperX than T1 actually playing well. I will say, like, overall in this game at least, T1, like, map 1 wasn't really close, and I think, but at the same time I do think this game was more of a competitive, because I don't know what the fuck PaperX are cooking here, but it's not good. Like, Brim Clove with Deadlock? Huh? Like, I think the Vice is so good on this map. Like, Vice and then Gecko KO is fine. Like, this comp is good. It's not, like, amazing, but it's solid. Like, this is a solid comp. And I mean, when we went to Fracture, once again, competitive. I mean, it's just a Teo versus a KJ. I mean, sure, they have KJ as well, which is kind of stupid, but yeah, this is another just competitive, straight up. Um, I mean, yeah, I do not like T1's comp here. Although it's not that different. I don't know, I just... First off, I don't like the KJ, which makes it a lot worse already. But also, like, just in general, I don't know, it's just not that great. It's just not. It just simply isn't. And then going Neon Rays is just weird. It's just weird. Split then was pretty close. PaperX are playing a comp that's like 4 years old at this point. T1's is decent, I'd say, like not much more than that. And like even when you look at like this game, like still I don't really know what's happening with Meteor, because Meteor, like, this map was ridiculous from Meteor. But the thing is, he looks disconnected to the team still. I actually did not end up watching this. I'm gonna watch some VODs of this game, but yeah. T1 are looking mid for how good they should be, and Paper X are not looking as good as I hoped they would be. Then we had GE versus Talon, and oh god, GE did not look good this game. I mean, Talon didn't look good either, but to be fair. But like, what the fuck was the split? Sure, it was defense on split, to be fair, but Talon could not win a round. Talon just could not win a round. Like, this was a terrible first map from Talon. But then after that, GE still keeps on not banning Abyss, although their Abyss looks terrible. And then Lotus was just kind of. It was just Talon. Like, at this point, it was like. Talon was like, oh shit. They woke up and was like, oh shit. We just shoot better than these guys. And they just shot them down and won. Like, it wasn't. It wasn't that impressive whatsoever. But yeah, moving on from that, so both teams were pretty bad. Moving on from that game, Gen G RRQ. Look, I know RRQ is a lot better than I thought they would be. I know that. I know that. And RRQ, but RRQ should have won this game. That's how terrible Gen G looked. Like, it was they won 13-6 with an 11-1 first half on defense on Fracture. Like, what the fuck are we doing here, Genji? And then Lotus, they were up 7-2 on attack. And then sure, Genji pulled it back to get 5. But you should not win with 5 on attack on Lotus. And especially not 13-8. What the fuck are you? Final map went to overtime. It was pretty close. But overall, just a curse fuck game. And RRQ, while they looked good, was and Genji, yeah, got a -8 here. I still put RRQ +2, although looked cursed. They looked like they could compete with Genji still. Which obviously Genji is a lot worse than I thought, but still. Moving on, we have a Nongshim versus Boom. And I feel like here Nongshim just kind of showed that they are better than Boom. Like, that's it. That's about it. They didn't really need to show much. Like, sure. Sure, okay, look. Nongshim lost a map, yes. They lost Bind. Pretty rough, right? Pretty rough map. But then we have Pearl, which ended 13-3. Was really close. And then sure, there's a 6-hit attack half from Nongshim. But Nongshim just kind of shot better, like in every way. Like, it's, I don't know. They just showed that there was a reason that they were the Ascension team, and the Boom just got here for free, basically. Moving on, Paper X versus Zeta, and this game just kind of solidified to me that Zeta is like kind of obviously the worst team. Like, it's not really close. Zeta is just not looking good at all whatsoever. Like, in their first game against Nongshim, I could give them somewhat of a break. It was like, sure, they're low, they're bad, but like, they still put up somewhat of a fight, you know, in the 2 maps. But now against Paper X, it looks equally as bad. And sure, it's Paper X and they beat on bad teams, but like, it's not looked great. It's not looked great. Team Secret versus RRQ. I was way too high on this Team Secret team, man. Well, obviously now, after the first GE game, I was like, all right, they won 13-3 first map and then just kind of lost it afterwards. So maybe they're not that bad, and it's just GE being good. But then GE got worse, and Team Secret lost even more. And Team Secret are looking bad. They're just not looking good. They're like, Team Secret are not looking good right now. I think they got the aim to look better than this, but and they got the players for it, but they just haven't shown it. DFM GE, while it went to 2 maps, I will say um it probably should have gone 3. Like GE threw quite hard to make this a 2-map game. I mean, first off, they let DFM piss on them and then split. I mean, it was a close map where GE was also up 12-10 on defense. Like it should not have been a. I will say it probably GE probably should have won that map, and then it would have gone to map 3, and we don't know what would have happened. But DFM still looked like the better team. I'd say these two teams are pretty close still, in terms of how good they are. But yeah, so this is the scoreline right now. We'll see what my score will look after watching some VODs of this game. It looks like it's just 3 maps where two teams had completely antied each other and did not have the scrapbook to compete with the other team's ante whatsoever. And then a final map where T1 just kind of dominated and then just had to close the game out. As far as what I'm seeing here, we're not talking about this game today, obviously, but it's I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, overall, I think these games looked pretty good. Overall, it's been a pretty fun region. I will say I'm pretty low on APAC right now. Like we're gonna get we're gonna get some EMEA ranking spoilers, but like I don't think there's a top 5 team in the world in APAC right now. Like genuinely. I think China's top 2 teams. Obviously, China has like a big tier gap between top 2 and the rest, but China's top 2 teams are looking better than any team in APAC right now. Like I would say China has 2 top 5 teams. EMEA has 2, and America has 1, as you see here. I do think Sen could go up there. I think NRG, if they start playing well, has potential. So I would say Americas has the most potential to get a lot of teams up there, as I do feel like EMEA has looked rough. But yeah, APAC, they're looking kind of bad right now, in my opinion. Moving on to EMEA, we had the EMEA games against Navi and all that, and then Apex Koi. So there's these 4 games that has happened, and let's just say it's all been blowouts so far. And yeah, I mean, Vitality Foot. I feel like Vitality just was like, all right, we are better than you guys, and we're gonna show it. And I feel like they exposed Foot so much. I do think BBL Team Heretics, to be fair to BBL, they did look pretty good. I will say that. Like, they probably should have won 1 map here. Like, they probably should have. Like, if we look at this first map versus Team Heretics on Pearl, BBL was up 11-8. Like, they were looking like the better team here, and they should have closed it out, but then, obviously, Team Heretics won 5 rounds in a row to win the map. BBL should have won that map. Then Lotus wasn't particularly close, but that was also Team Heretics map pick. And if BBL would have closed this map out, it would have gone to map 3, and we don't know what would have happened. So I do think BBL looked pretty good. I do think BBL is one of the top teams in the league right now. I will say though, after Fnatic played Gentlemates, although yes, I know Gentlemates are not a good team. Like I know that just as much as anybody else. But they're not a bad team. Like anybody who says that Gentlemates have been a bad team this year are choking so hard. I don't know who you think you are, but Gentlemates have not been a bad team so far this year. Sure, the games they won have been against Apex and Koi, the 2 worst teams in the region. But they put up a fight against Team Heretics. And sure, it looked like Team Heretics had barely played this in their entire lives. Um, like genuinely, that's how bad their Team Heretics Abyss looked, and then they kind of stomped on them. But they have not looked terrible. Gentlemates have not looked terrible. And Fnatic absolutely fucking destroyed that Gentlemates Abyss. And then on top of that, they looked pretty solid on their own map pick. I will say one thing that concerns me about this fracture is Fnatic need to look better on attack, man. I know that this map, Fnatic has had a really good defense side, but this map is not supposed to be defender sided, Fnatic. Like, you need to be, like, when you play better teams, this is not gonna happen. This is not gonna happen against the top teams on Fracture in the world. You will, like, even this, like, them getting a 7-5 here was kind of Gentlemate choking a bit on the defense here. Like, Cadaver was looking so good. So was Mini and Click, and the entire team looked really good on this defensive half. But then Fnatic just kind of shat on them when it came to defense. And Kayak had a game, obviously. His attack wasn't that good, but his defense was ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, we can't look like this against the top teams in the region, but I will say we are looking so much better. Like, I love the double duelist. Like, put Alpha on Jet and Chamber and stuff like that. Please do that more. That's exactly where we want Alpha to be. Like, I feel like Fnatic shouldn't have picked up Kayak, but I feel like at this point, just commit into like the Chamber / double duelist meta. Because like that's like where I feel like this team could potentially thrive with this team. Because I feel like Alpha here should not, like, if you're gonna drop Durka, put Alpha on Duelist. Like, genuinely put Alpha on Duelist. Like, don't pick up another Duelist. Pick up another Sentinel player. Like, that's the only reason I feel like why you would drop Durka is because Alpha wants to be playing Duelist. Only reason. Only reason. If Alpha wanted to play Duelist and somebody else could play Senti. Otherwise, I don't see why they would drop Durka. Like, this roster would have looked so much better if they just switched Kayak for Durka. And we'll talk about Durka later. But yeah, overall, I will say Fnatic looked a lot better today. Fnatic looked a lot better, or technically yesterday, but Fnatic looked so much better. Like, so much better. And I said we would talk about Durka later, but we can talk about Durka right now because we have already skipped over their game. Durka is looking like, as I've said this for such a long time, and people have always called me a coper, the best duelist in the world. Durka is just ridiculous. Like, if Durka gets the team around him and the support around him, he's the best duelist in the world. And I feel like what happened on Fnatic and why people didn't consider him that was simply just Fnatic had so many good players that aimed, so Durka didn't get to show off how insane he is. And sure, he has that team now as well, but they are making Durka be able to look good. Fnatic didn't make Durka be able to look good. Although he did, I will say, like, Durka looked insane on Fnatic, and I feel like people underestimate how good he looked just because his stats are not the highest. But Durka was ridiculously good on Fnatic, and people underestimate him so much on that team because the role he had, he did so well. But now, on this Vitality roster, I feel like he has a completely different role, which enables him a lot more to get like those ridiculous amount of kills. Kind of like what we saw with Fnatic when Durka played Yoru. And I feel like if you watched Fnatic's Yoru with Durka, you understand what I mean. Like, Durka's Yoru is just ridiculous. At least on Fnatic. I mean, and yes, I'm sorry, it's ridiculous on Vitality as well. But what I was trying to say was, if Fnatic wanted to activate Durka to get as many kills as possible, when they did that, you saw exactly how good Durka fucking is. Like, he's ridiculous. Either way, moving on. Team Liquid versus Giants. What is happening with this Giant X team, man? Like, they played a close game against BBL. They played a pretty close game against BBL. Like, they lost the first map and then barely managed to win the second map and then lost the third map pretty heavily. Like, this was a close game. Like, they were leading at one point in this game, and sure, they got a 6-6 attack half, so this Lotus wasn't amazing, but, like, they kept up pretty close with a pretty good BBL roster, and then beat Carmine Corps, the team that managed to keep it close against Team Vitality. Like, they beat Carmine Corps. Like, I don't think anybody can disagree that this team just straight up beat them. They should not get this demolished by Team Liquid. I'm sorry, this should just be a team diff. Like, genuinely, Team Liquid has been struggling to beat Apex and Koi and got absolutely destroyed the second they played any other team that had any sense of, like, aim whatsoever. Giants should win this game. And sure, you can say, well, Kamo just fucking popped off. Same with Nats and Kiko. Like, the entire team just looks so much better than what they've done before. And I would say, arguably, that's half true. But at the same time, this Giants roster just did not look good today. Like, they just had an extreme off day. Like, Purpo was literally the only one who showed up on both maps. Like, Purpo was the only one to look good on this team whatsoever. And sure, you can say that the entirety of Team Liquid looked good today and had a good day. But at the same time, I don't think that's really true either. I think Kamik looked good at points, but not for the entire game. Same with Paddy. Like, Paddy on the first map looked ridiculous. Paddy on the second map had his moments, but was kind of mid. Kamik on both maps, though, looked kind of mid to me. Although his util is still pretty good, I think he looked kind of mid. Same with Kiko. Kiko had one really good map on Split on race, going 25 and 12, but Fracture, he looked pretty mid. Like, pretty mid. But just because of how good he was on race, he got a pretty high score. Camo, I will say, was like the one player that showed up both games today. He looked ridiculous today. And Nats looked like pretty good on both maps. Like, he wasn't like insane, but he looked pretty good on both maps. But overall, I would say this team actually, Team Liquid didn't look like, sure, they had maps, but I feel like any team can have a map. Any player can have a map. But there was just Tomashi didn't show up today, Cloud didn't show up today. Westside looked worse than I thought. Although I know Westside has not been great for this team overall, I do think he has still been able to put up okay numbers. And Runner just had a terrible day. Runner was just not looking like it. So yeah, overall, some pretty fun games. A pretty bad game from Giants. Like, I gotta say, it was a pretty bad game by Giants. I think they had a really bad day. Otherwise, I mean, it's been stomps the entire week, so it's not been that fun to watch, but it's been interesting. It's been interesting for EMEA. And overall, I still think there's like Team Heretics, Team Vitality, Peer Gap, Fnatic, BBL, Foot. Slight tier gap, maybe not. As I do feel like KC. I still believe in this KC roster somewhat. I do think they can look good. But yeah, I would say KC is probably on the level with like Mates, Team Liquid, GX, Navi. It's just that I think they have potential to look better, and therefore I have them higher here. But yeah, overall, I'd say there's like a pretty distinct top 5 in EMEA right now. So yeah, I do think though, keep in mind that like the top 2 EMEA teams look really good, but then after that point, it's like it drops off so hard so quickly. Like, it's a pretty apparent tier gap between Vitality and Fnatic. So yeah. Overall, though, I feel like the games have been fun so far. Although there was quite a lot of blowouts in it, EMEA and APAC. I would say APAC has had some weird games, and I would say pretty low quality overall. I do think it's been fun. It's been fun still. Maybe not the best week, but still pretty decent. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's going to be another one which was a bit longer than the rest, but you know, that's what happens sometimes. Peace out.